The Anderson family mansion stood like a fortress against the November sky, its windows glowing with warm light that somehow felt cold and unwelcoming. I sat in my car, staring at the turkey that had taken me 8 hours to perfect, wondering if I should just turn around and drive back home. 6 hours on the road, 3 stops for coffee, and one near accident with a deer had brought me here. My husband Daniel was already inside, having flown in yesterday for what his mother called family preparations. Now I knew why he'd been so evasive about the seating arrangements during our phone calls. "Sarah, you're late." Patricia Anderson's voice cut through the crisp air as she opened the front door. My mother-in-law stood there in her designer dress and pearls, looking like she'd stepped out of a luxury magazine. "Everyone's already here. Quick, bring the—" "Oh, you brought food." The way she said food made it sound like I'd brought roadkill to her perfect Thanksgiving dinner. "Homemade turkey," I said, lifting the carefully wrapped dish. "With my grandmother's special herb stuffing." "How quaint." Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We'll put that in the kitchen. The catering staff can probably use it for themselves." I followed her into the house, past the formal living room where relatives were gathered with cocktails. Daniel stood with his sister Emma, both holding crystal glasses of something amber. He caught my eye but quickly looked away, never a good sign. "Daniel, darling," Patricia called out. "Sarah's finally arrived. Show her where to put her contribution." Daniel excused himself and hurried over, giving me a quick peck on the cheek. "Hey, honey, long drive?" 6 hours, I reminded him. "Where should I sit? I need to freshen up before dinner." He shifted uncomfortably. "About that, Mom had to make some last-minute seating changes, with Aunt Margaret bringing her new boyfriend and Emma's college roommate showing up unexpectedly." "Daniel." I fixed him with a look. "Where am I sitting?" "In the mudroom," Patricia answered before he could. "With Rex and Princess. They need someone to watch them during dinner, and since you're so good with animals." Rex and Princess were Patricia's prize-winning show dogs, a pair of Afghan hounds worth more than my car. The mudroom was where they ate their organic, specially prepared meals. "You want me to eat Thanksgiving dinner in the mudroom?" I kept my voice level. "With the dogs." "Well, you are a veterinarian," Patricia said, as if that explained everything. "And the dining room only seats 20. Family first, you understand." Family first. The same excuse she used last Christmas when I wasn't included in the family photo. The same reason I wasn't invited to Emma's engagement party until Daniel threatened not to come. The same justification for every slight and exclusion over the past 3 years of marriage. Of course, I smiled, reaching into my bag. "Family first. Speaking of family, I have something that might interest you, Patricia." "Can it wait?" She was already turning away. "The first course is about to be served." "Actually, it can't." I pulled out an envelope, the one I've been carrying for 2 months, waiting for the right moment. "You see, I've been doing some interesting research about this house." Patricia froze. "What about the house?" "Well, after you mentioned at Easter that my career was barely a step above being a dog groomer, I got curious about the Anderson family finances. Did some digging, found some fascinating documents." Daniel stepped closer. "Sarah, what are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the real owner of this mansion." I opened the envelope slowly. "Would you like to tell them, Patricia, or should I?" The color drained from my mother-in-law's perfectly made-up face. "You're making things up." "Am I?" I pulled out the first document. "Because according to these mortgage papers, this house doesn't belong to the Anderson family at all. It belongs to the Burton Trust." "And do you know who controls the Burton Trust?" Patricia grabbed Daniel's arm. "She's lying. Your father bought this house 20 years ago." "Did he?" I smiled. "Or did your father-in-law, Richard Burton, buy it through his trust? The same trust that's been paying the property taxes for 2 decades while you pretended to be old money." The crystal glass in Patricia's hand shook slightly. Around us, relatives were starting to notice the tension, conversations dying down as they watched the drama unfold. "Burton?" Daniel looked confused. "As in Grandpa Richard?" "Your mother's father-in-law," I confirmed. "The self-made man she never talks about because he started as a janitor and worked his way up. The one whose money built all this but who was never refined enough to be invited to family events." "That's enough." Patricia's voice rose sharply. "These are private family matters." "Family matters?" I raised an eyebrow. Like seating your daughter-in-law in the mudroom with the dogs? Or is family only important when you're pretending to be something you're not? Emma appeared at her mother's side. Mom, what's she talking about? I pulled out another document. Your grandfather Richard left specific instructions in his will. The house stays in the trust until someone in the family proves they understand the value of hard work. Someone who earns their success instead of pretending to inherit it. Anything that's you. Patricia's laugh was brittle. A simple veterinarian. No, I met her eyes steadily. I think it's Daniel, the only one in his family who actually worked for a living instead of living off Grandfather Burton's money. The one who chose to be an emergency room doctor instead of joining your country club set. Daniel took the papers from my hands, reading them slowly. This can't be real. Oh, it's real, I assured him. Your grandfather appointed my father as the trust executor before he died. Dad's been watching for years, waiting to see if anyone in the family would prove worthy of the legacy. Your father? Patricia's voice rose to a shriek. The accountant. The same accountant who's been managing the trust that pays for your lifestyle. I confirmed. He showed me everything last month, including the clause that gives him the right to evict anyone who doesn't live up to Richard Burton's values. The silence in the room was deafening. Even Rex and Princess, sensing the tension, had stopped their usual prancing and stood watching from the doorway. So, I pick up my turkey. Should I take this to the mudroom, or would you like to reconsider the seating arrangements? Patricia's perfect Thanksgiving dinner was unraveling faster than the seams of her designer dress. The relatives who had been pretending not to listen were now openly staring, their cocktails forgotten in their hands. This is preposterous, Patricia finally managed, her voice trembling. Gerald, she called out to her husband, who had been unusually quiet in a corner. Tell them this is nonsense. Gerald Anderson stepped forward, his face ashen. Actually, Pat, I've been meaning to tell you something about the house payments. You knew. Patricia whirled on him. All this time you knew we didn't really own this place? Richard, my father-in-law, he made me promise not to tell you. Gerald stared at his shoes. Said it was a test. To see if money would change us. I guess we failed. Emma collapsed onto the nearest sofa, her perfect posture crumbling. So we're not really, all those country club memberships, the debutante balls, the society pages, were funded by the man you were all too embarrassed to invite to family events. I finished. The one who worked as a janitor to put himself through night school. The one Patricia said wasn't refined enough to attend Emma's Sweet 16. Daniel was still reading through the documents, his doctor's precision evident in how carefully he examined each page. There's more, he said suddenly. About the trust conditions. Ah yes, I nodded. The character clause. Should we discuss that, Patricia? About how the trust beneficiaries must demonstrate genuine respect for all persons, regardless of their station in life. Patricia's perfectly manicured hands began to shake. You can't possibly mean. I mean that my father, as trust executor, has been watching, recording every slight, every time you called my profession beneath the Anderson name, every time you excluded me from family events, every time you treated the household staff like they were invisible. The catering staff, who had been pretending to arrange appetizers, suddenly found reasons to linger in the doorway. But I was protecting our family's reputation, Patricia protested, our standing in society. A society built on lies, Daniel said quietly, on pretending to be something we're not. Mom, do you know why I chose emergency medicine instead of joining Dad's private practice? Patricia blinked at the sudden change of subject. Because you were being rebellious. Because I wanted to help people, all people, like Grandpa Richard did when he created scholarships for janitors' kids to attend college. Like Sarah does when she runs her low-cost veterinary clinic for families who can't afford regular vet care. Emma stood up suddenly. The trust, does it say anything about what happens if we fail the character test? I pulled out the final document. Actually, it specifies exactly what happens. Would you like to read it, Patricia? Or should I? I will. Daniel took the paper. Upon determination by the trust executor that beneficiaries have failed to demonstrate the required moral character, all property and assets shall be transferred to the Burton Foundation for Educational Opportunity, providing scholarships to working-class students. The silence that followed was broken only by Patricia's sharp intake of breath. However, I continued. There's a redemption clause. One last chance for the family to prove they understand Richard Burton's values. What kind of chance? Gerald asked, speaking up for the first time in minutes. A year of real work, I said simply. Each family member must spend 1 year working in service positions. Patricia, Richard specifically suggested you start as a housekeeper. Emma, there's an opening at the local diner. Gerald, the hospital where Daniel works needs orderlies. This is insane. Patricia exploded. We are Andersons. We don't work as servants. No, Daniel's voice was steel. We're Burtons. At least I'm proud to be one. Grandpa Richard built something real. All we've done is pretend to be better than everyone else. But the dinner. Emma gestured weakly at the formal dining room where 20 places were set with the finest china. All the guests will be very interested to learn about the Burton Foundation. I smiled. In fact, I see several people who might qualify for scholarships themselves. Shall we invite everyone to sit, including the catering staff? Patricia swayed slightly, reaching for support. You planned this. You deliberately waited until Thanksgiving. Actually, your father-in-law planned it, right down to the holiday reveal. I adjusted my grip on my turkey dish. He said Thanksgiving was when we show our true gratitude, or in this case, our true colors. Daniel. Patricia turned to her son, playing her last card. Surely you won't let her destroy everything we've built. Built? Daniel laughed incredulously. Mom, we haven't built anything. We've been living on Grandpa Richard's money while pretending he didn't exist. Well, that ends today. He turned to the waiting staff. Please join us for dinner. All of you. Sarah's turkey is amazing, and I'm sure there's plenty of room at the table. But where will I sit? Patricia whispered, her world visibly crumbling. I glanced at the mudroom where Rex and Princess waited. Well, there's always space with the dogs, unless you're ready to accept that real family isn't about where you sit or what you own. It's about how you treat people. The catering staff began to move tentatively toward the dining room, encouraged by Daniel's genuine smile. Emma, after a moment's hesitation, started helping them carry dishes. Your choice, Patricia, I said softly. But remember, you have 1 year to prove you've changed. Otherwise, this house becomes a scholarship foundation, and you'll have to explain to all your society friends why you're moving into an apartment. Gerald stepped forward, straightening his spine. Pat, maybe it's time. Time to be real people again. Like when we first met, remember? When you were a waitress at that diner near campus, and I was working as a night security guard to pay for law school. Patricia's mask cracked just slightly. That was different. No, he took her hand. That was honest. Everything since then, it's all been an act. I'm tired of acting. The Thanksgiving dinner that followed was unlike anything the Anderson mansion had ever seen. The catering staff sat intermixed with family members, sharing stories and passing dishes. My turkey, placed at the center of the table alongside the catered one, disappeared first. Patricia sat rigidly in her chair, watching her carefully constructed world reshape itself. She barely touched her food, but I noticed her listening, really listening, as one of the servers talked about putting herself through nursing school. I work 3 jobs, the young woman, Maria, was saying. But the nursing program is so expensive. The Burton Foundation, Daniel spoke up suddenly. It has a healthcare education division, doesn't it, Sarah? I nodded, understanding his intent. Applications open next month. Full scholarships for working students. Patricia's fork clattered against her plate. You mean, all this time, we could have actually been helping people instead of just hosting charity galas? That was rather the point, I said quietly. Richard Burton never wanted his money to create another generation of idle rich. He wanted it to open doors for people like he once was. Emma, who had spent the last hour deep in conversation with the catering company's owner, looked up. They're hiring at the diner near the hospital. For the night shift. She took a deep breath. I'm going to apply tomorrow. Patricia's head snapped up. Emma, you can't possibly. Actually, Mom, I can. And I will. Emma straightened her shoulders. I'm tired of being useless, of having nothing real to be proud of. Gerald reached over and squeezed his daughter's hand. I'll drive you to the interview. Right after I submit my application to the hospital. They need night orderlies in the ER. The transformation happening around the table was almost magical. As pretenses fell away, real conversations emerged. The chef shared recipes with Patricia, who, to everyone's surprise, revealed she'd once dreamed of opening a small cafe before society's expectations took over. Near the end of dinner, Daniel stood up, holding his wine glass. "I'd like to propose a toast to Grandpa Richard Burton, a man who cleaned floors at night so his children could have a better life. A man who understood that real worth isn't about what you own, but what you build." To Richard, the table echoed, even the staff joining in. Patricia dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. I never really knew him. I was too busy trying to be someone else." "It's not too late," I told her gently. "The redemption clause gives you a year. But it has to be real change, Patricia. Not just for show." She nodded slowly. "The hospital. They probably need cleaning staff too, don't they?" Daniel nearly dropped his glass. "Mom, are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe it's time I learned what real work feels like." She smoothed her designer dress nervously. "Though I've never actually cleaned anything." "I can teach you," Maria offered, surprising everyone. "I supervised the hospital's cleaning crew on weekends." As the evening wound down, I found Daniel in Richard's old study, staring at a photograph of his grandfather in a janitor's uniform. "He knew," Daniel said softly. "All these years he knew what we'd become, what Mom had turned us into. He never lost hope." I replied, wrapping my arms around him. "That's why he set up the trust the way he did. Why he made my father promise to wait for the right moment. The right moment being when my mother tried to make my wife eat Thanksgiving dinner with the dogs." I laughed. "Actually, he predicted something like that. Said Patricia would eventually go too far, and that would be our chance to set things right." A quiet cough from the doorway made us turn. Patricia stood there, looking somehow smaller without her usual armor of superiority. "The staff, our guests, are leaving," she said. "I wanted to thank them, but I don't know how." "Just be genuine," I suggested. "That's all anyone really wants." She nodded, then hesitated. "Sarah, about the mudroom, and everything else over the years. Let's just focus on moving forward," I cut in. "Starting with your first shift at the hospital next week." "Yes." She squared her shoulders. "Though I may need to go shopping first. For cleaning clothes." "I'll take you," I offered, surprising myself. "I know a few good stores, the kind that sell things made to last, not just to look good." As we walked her to the door, Patricia paused one last time. "The house, when the year is up, if we changed. Then it becomes what it should have been all along," I assured her. "A home, not a showcase." Later that night, as we prepared to leave, I found Rex and Princess in their mudroom, looking rather forlorn at having missed all the excitement. "Don't worry," I told them, sneaking each a bit of turkey. "Sometimes the best view of a family's transformation is from the mudroom. Trust me, I know." Daniel laughed, pulling me close. "Ready to go home?" I looked around at the mansion, its pretenses stripped away, its future uncertain but somehow more real than it had ever been. "Actually," I smiled, "I think we just helped make this place a home for the first time in 20 years. Sometimes," I reflected as we drove away, "the best Thanksgiving gifts aren't the ones wrapped in shiny paper or served on fine china. Sometimes they're the moments when truth breaks through pretense, when real value replaces false worth, and when a family finally learns that their greatest wealth lies not in what they own, but in who they choose to become."